for those of you who may have missed this call, we're recording it, and we'll go ahead and send out the recording and the link to it after this meeting is over. We do have two presentations today. We have Jeff Kroll and Sophia Liao, who will be presenting to us how we determine which audience segments that we select within the programmatic buys during the planning and activation process. Jeff will show us or talk through a program that he has run on MediaMath, whereas Sophia will be talking through the selection process on DVM. So I'll go ahead and pass the presentation rights to Jeff, and if you guys have any questions throughout this process, please don't hesitate to stop us and ask questions. We'll be able to answer them on the fly. So Jeff, went ahead and given you presenter rights. Go ahead and share your desktop and go ahead and get started.
Okay, can everybody see my desktop at this point? All right, great. So I'm going to demo audience planning within MediaMath. And typically how we start here is I receive an email from the media or activation team, essentially including us in their RFP request and providing us with general outlines on what are the parameters for the campaign, giving us background here. I actually don't have the email up here, but typically you guys present a general KPIs, flight dates, budget, and things of that nature. And then we, on our end, begin planning those planning those audiences out based on your target audience and the audience you want to reach. So I'm going to use Verizon Wireless for an example here, and we're going to go with the target audience that they want to reach switchers, do carrier conquesting, so reach other subscribers of carriers, and also they want to hit potentially an age range of 18 to 34, as well as just reach general wireless consumers in the market. So typically...
can you go ahead and switch the presentation mode to the other desktop that you have MediaMath open on with?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now can everybody see here? Okay. So back to MediaMath here. We're going to go into the planning itself. Typically, there's no real way to start planning. I mean, it's really up to you how you want to begin doing the whole planning process here. So going into the planning tool itself, selecting the targeting tab, you're immediately brought to the third-party audience section within MediaMath. And just here, you can see that there's a search bar. It lists all the providers available, and you can continue to drill down to individual providers if you like, or begin searching. So typically, I like to search based on keywords. So, you know, what immediately I brought to mind here with Verizon Wireless, we want to reach in-market cell phone consumers. So keywords such as mobile phone, wireless plan, specific carriers that we want to do competitive conquesting on, such as AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. Those are good keywords to start your searches here. So if we did something such as wireless plans, it looks like it's only bringing up one here, but doing a broader keyword search, you can see it populates a number of different data segments, different data providers. And drilling down here, you can see that they each have individual segment taxonomy here, such as branded data for Blue Kai, brands, and service providers, Verizon Wireless. So for our purposes in this one, that wouldn't really make sense. But if we do mobile phone, again, you can sort of drill down into specific targeting segments, such as this one is pretty interesting, big ticket purchasers, intent to purchase, mobile phone. That would be interesting to use because you know they're in market for a mobile phone. mobile phone only, no landline propensity. Again, that'd be something, I want to consider here for targeting on my campaign. You can continue going down here. There's a lot of more targeted segments. Mobile interests, mobile phone. Again, that would align with what we're looking for. As well, you can even get even more granular on carriers or providers. So if you do a search here and type in AT&T, you can even get down to the very device level, BlackBerry Bold AT&T, providers AT&T. So a lot of different options here that you can select. And then from here, I really just broaden it out. Maybe I want to do prepay plans, people that have prepay plans, if that comes up.
Yay!
Well, something like this, cell phones and plans, that would be another good one. So that's the general idea here of what you want to do when you're searching for audiences. Another key area I want to call out here is looking at the size and the cost. So size is really important. If you only have 20,000 people within that audience, that's really going to limit you in your scale and who you can reach. Layering on a geo-targeting can really further diminish scale here. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. You really want to target only around at least 1 million at the very least there, because otherwise you're really not going to get any scale or delivery, and it'll definitely impact your ability to spend on the campaign. Another key area here to call out is what is the CPM? So typically I like to plan on as a cheap CPM as possible, usually around $1 or less. Something in the realm of 65 cents is pretty good here. You can get a wide range of impressions for a cheap amount. Coupling that with 1 million plus audience, that's a really good option for you. You also want to think that on any campaign you need to factor in, number one, paying for the data. In this example, if we use $1, we got to pay $1 to use the data. We then need to pay $1 to buy the media, and then we need to pay another $1 to win in the auction above those other people bidding on that cookie and that media. So in the beginning, that's essentially $3 that you need to pay overall just for that one impression. If there's a lot of competition, you're seeing that we're not delivering, you may need to even increase that bid. So that $3 could even go up to $4. So it's really, it's advantageous for you to ensure that you are, getting the, the most relevant audience at the cheapest possible rate. One other area I want to show here is, if you do have specific data providers that you want to use, it's easy to just select those. I like to use Add This a lot on Verizon Wireless, and it'll just bring up your keyword search and the data provider of your choice. Again, they have pretty, wide-ranging segments here that you can select. So as I was saying, if you want to reach certain plans, you got family plans, business plans, and things like that. So that's really the end of my part here. Sophia, do you want to take over the forecasting portion?
Actually, really quick before Sophia jumps in, thank you, Jeff, for showing us that. One note that I do want to mention is when we're looking at selecting these segments, what we're really doing for this particular tactic is adding on the third-party data that Jeff has just shown you how to select, and it will be very specific, and we may return to you each individual plan, several different line items with different targeting buckets, because what we'll be able to do is after we do select each group of target that would maybe thematic groups, if you will, we're able to optimize the campaign based on which theme is actually performing best. So we'll use these as levers throughout the campaign to find the kind of sweet spot within it. And this is part of the particular purchase-based behavior or behavioral targeting that we will often apply to several different campaigns, which is kind of the crux of addressable media. So if this is the blend of art and science, a lot of our team members are very familiar with the different types of data providers that will result will give you the results that you need. So in the point that Jeff made about AddThis has been a very efficient and cost-effective data provider, but they also provide the type of information that we need to make decisions on Verizon. So as such, that has, over time, we've discovered that it's one of the better data providers. So you too, as well, over time, as you get more familiar with the programmatic or behavioral targeting space in general, will learn how to use specific data providers to achieve different goals. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sophia, and Sophia will show you a demonstration within DBM.
Okay.
Yep, I'm passing the controls over to you now. Do we have any questions about the demonstration that Jeff did before we move on? All right, so Sophia, it looks like we've got your screen up, and in just a second we expect to see the DBM interface.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to go through a little bit about DBM and how I plan for campaigns. Currently on my screen right now, you're seeing something that hopefully most of you are familiar with seeing. It's the buy details, where you would afterwards, once the plan is approved, insert it into your inbox or whatever system to generate the IO. This is just to give you a quick idea of what Colin was saying as well. Like when we think about audiences, we think about it kind of in themes. So for example, the one I'm currently planning right now actually is for General Mills, Old El Paso, and their theme or their initiative is back to school. So just to give you an idea, we don't, just group all of the available data segments that we see in the DSP. In this case, for me, it would be DBM, and Jeff was talking about Media Math. We don't just group all of those segments into one bucket. We break it out so that we can get those learnings that we're, hoping to see throughout the campaign. So, for example, I'll go with back to school parents. That would be one audience. A secondary audience would be demo audience, where it's focusing on women 25 to 49 with 2 or more children in the household, so basically a mom. And another one would be something like keyword contextual targeting based off of back to school keyword terms. So I'm going to go into DBM now really quickly to show you how I pull inventory availability against these audiences. I'm in the DoubleClick dashboard, and in reporting, I'm able to pull an inventory availability report to generate that audience. So for this one, you just name the report whatever you like to name it. Obviously, so you should name it something that you can identify easily later on, whether it be a month from now or even a year from now. It's useful to keep that organized so you know where, if you ever needed to find it again or reuse it or repurpose it. So I'm naming it OEP Back to School Parents. I usually do a date range of the last 30 days. What this means is it's looking at the past 30 days of unique cookies to help generate what the forecast can be for the future. Here I'm going to enter in all of the standard filters that we think about when we are pulling a veil, such as brand safety, geolocation, if or geo-targeted, if like DMAs, if applicable. For this campaign, it's going to be national, so United States. I don't know why my Chrome autofill settings are showing up. Okay, there we go. Okay, So United States for national, I'm going to enter in the brand safety. I'm using the DBM brand safety filters. If there's a whitelist, you can also enter that in here if it was already set up. If there's a blacklist, you can enter that in to take it into account. I'm just going to do the standard 3. And the standard 3 ad sizes would be a good thing to include here. If, you have multiple or, you only have one ad size, then this would be a good report to pull to see how much inventory is available for that specific ad size. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to find it. Create a size. Here we go. So the standard 3. And I'm going to filter for desktop. So if you were doing this for mobile, you would filter it for mobile. If you're doing this for video, then here would, on the side, it's labeled for video, is where you would enter the information that you're looking for. So give me 1 second. You guys can all know where I live now. Okay. So now getting into the meat of the inventory availability, it is located under user list. Here is where all of the first and third party data segments are found in DBM. So I'm going to do a quick search for back to school segments. So I'm typing in back to school, seeing what comes up, and selecting the ones that I think will be relevant for this campaign. So, back to school shopping, who are seasonal shoppers back to school, family stores. And here, I think it's really where you think makes sense. And if, for some reason you think this may make sense, but someone else may disagree, as long as you have I think a good rationale as to why you're selecting what you're selecting, it's totally fine, and you can be as creative or uncreative as you'll like. So I'm going to select a few more. I'm not selecting back to school like purchase sneakers right now because at least in my opinion, the product here is Olo Paso, which is tacos and Mexican food. So might not make sense, but you could add it if that is something that the brand is interested in seeing. So that's just another example of how you can be a little outside of the box or kind of stay within your perimeters. Okay, cool. So I have a good handful. I have 13 segments I selected. I'm going to group it by user list so that it will generate a report based off of all the segments that I had chosen, and I'm able to see how at each of the individual segments, how many impressions and uniques are available. Do you have any questions so far while this report is generating? Okay. In the interest of time, I have a pre-report downloaded, and this is for a separate brand, which I'm going to speak to. This was for General Mills Green Giant. The audience that I had worked on was for competitors. So as you can see, all of the segments I had selected, just like how I explained earlier, are the segments that are Green Giant competitors. So here, this is how the report will look like. It would generate all of the segments, the ID, the DBM ID, what type of segment is it, the first party or third, it's third party, and the data providers are listed in the front. The cost of the segment, so the data CPM to use if you were to target the segment is $1 for each of them. It just so happens every single one of them is $1, but sometimes it ranges. And as Jeff was pointing out earlier, you have to take that into consideration. So it's good that this report is showing me that, because if I saw maybe, let's just say, a $3 data fee, that's pretty expensive. So you must really, really want to use that segment and think it's a valuable segment in order to target it, because you got to include the media fee, the tech and talent fee, and all of those things. And then the most important part is the potential impressions and the unique. So this is, again, based off of the last 30 days. This specific segment has seen News Star, AdAdvisor, Birdseye had this many impressions and this many uniques. So what I do here next is actually apply a win rate. The win rate is taking 16% against the potential impressions. And it kind of gives us a conservative look, and even just looking at it now, we definitely have more than enough impression inventory availability against these segments for targeting. This is super helpful if you are, again, being super targeted, and if you're, geo-targeting and layering on a lot of things, or you're only having one ad size. This is helpful for you to see at what budget what's the max budget you can really spend against this specific audience. And here is an example of how I make that budgeting. So at a $4 CPM with this many impressions, how much money can I spend in a month? So I can spend a lot of money just looking at this. So again, this is a good exercise if you know that everything is super, super targeting. You want to be as realistic and as conservative as possible with your forecasting. Do we have any questions? Okay, I think that's it from my end, and then after that I would just do the same thing here for all of my audiences to make sure I have enough inventory against the audiences I'm recommending. Again, this is just one audience, back to school. I would do this again for keyword contextual or for moms or whatever audience bucket I'm thinking of proposing. And here is the example of the one I just did. Shows you the user list, what type of segment it is, the cost to use it, and as you can see here, for this segment, Datatronics, the unique count over the last 30 days is pretty low compared to everything else. So, maybe we should remove it or we should keep it. That's something you would think about while you're forecasting. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Jeff. So one last call on any questions about this actual forecasting process or selection of the data partner. All right, well, I hope you guys have learned a couple things while looking over the both MediaMath and DBM platforms. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your ASG team members, and we'll be happy to get back to you. And don't forget that we are also having a number of different trainings starting this week for programmatic in general. So we look forward to talking to you then. Thanks so much.